This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
It's that little shake all the time. It's always shaking it.
Yeah.
And then trying to make order out of it. And then it might have moments of order, and then it gets shaken again. I mean,
but it can literally go, it's kind of fun to watch it and think about what the mind does, to watch the moon go from a perfect with a couple of ripples and wrinkles in it, and then it gets bigger and it starts breaking up until finally the whole body of water, no matter what it is just like covered
in little fractals of light.
Paragraph 6, it will seem difficult for you to learn that you have no basis at all for ordering your thoughts. This lesson the Holy Spirit teaches by giving you the shining examples of miracles to show you that your way of ordering is wrong, but that a better way is offered you. The miracle offers exactly the same response to every call for help. It does not judge the call. It merely recognizes what it is and answers accordingly. It does not consider which call is louder or greater or more important. You may wonder how you who are still bound to judgment can be asked to do that which requires no judgment of your own. The answer is very simple. The power of God, and not of you, engenders miracles. The power of God and not of you engenders miracles. I'm the lightweight, God's the heavyweight. The miracle itself is but the witness that you have the power of God in you. That is the reason why the miracle gives equal blessing to all who share in it. And that is also why everyone shares in it. The power of God is limitless, and being always maximal, it offers everything to every call from anyone. There is no order of difficulty here. A call for help is given help. We have difficulty with this, so that there is a tangible, palpable way that I dispose myself in my defenselessness, my safety lies. I dispose myself to really being, ironically, helpless in the usual sense.
Yeah.
Helpless. There's nothing I can really do, and that creates the vacuum that allows the mind of God to contact the inner part.
In my meekness, I've made strong, in this, the recognition of strength and ability and everything else is the God self after I have, humbled myself before. My ego has to kind of get quiet in order for, miracles to happen.
Well, a lot of times, I'm going to say the Course in Miracles, a lot of people go off and they have a miracle cap on and they're going to go out and heal the world kind of a thing. And the deal that I am understanding about this that's kind of hard is that any faculty that I have for animating energy, animating intentionality, motivation, that's not what it's talking about. That's all my reactivity within the perceptual world.
Unless it's been animated by God himself.
Well, I know, but there is the sense of, I'm going to say that along with, trying to find the technology of the miracle, another aspect to it, we're saying it's tangible. The other aspect of it, I'm going to say, is that that there's that feeling of a vacuum. There has to be the feeling of a vacuum that I'm not doing this.
Right. Yeah.
I have to be withdrawn from agency. The me.
Yes.
Now, that's not disempowerment.
No, I agree.
So, yeah, I don't know. What do you say about that? How do you square that with just, hey, no, nothing can happen. It's all in God's hands. Fatalism. How do you get past it?
Well, fatalism is not surrender. Surrender is not fatalism. I mean, fatalism means that I guess sometimes when you're at a point of totally giving up on your way, sometimes miracles come in as well. I mean, you recognize you're at a Mexican standoff, or whatever you want to call it. It's at a standoff. And then once you let go of your standoff, which means you dropped your wall, it allows for the miracle to come in. So there can be those moments in people's lives where they go about it, whatever, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. It's in that movie, All Is Lost, where he's on the ship and he just keeps trying to do the next thing.
Well, and you have to do that. You have to attend to your world.
He keeps proceeding, but at some point, all is lost. And the final scene is left up for
he burns up his boat. It's the last gesture.
It's the last gesture.
The last cry for help as he sets his own boat on fire.
Right. And a hand reaches in. At any rate, we don't know really what happens in that particular movie. I think it's great. But it is when we give up our need to make it happen that we allow for something else to come in, And
also even our ability to judge to even know clearly what we're actually asking for in terms of the miracle.
Right.
In the case of the dad, he might be praying for one thing, the kid gets a job, or this happens or that happens. But, you only know what the miracle is when it hits you.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and sometimes you think that you know what needs to happen, and all you can do is like, I hand this person in the situation over to you, God, because it feels like let's just say people are suffering usually under those circumstances. If you're praying for them or whatever, you're feeling them suffer either mentally or physically in their life with something. And of myself, I can do nothing.
Well, I think that one of the blocks I've experienced too, let's say, that tangible miracle is I think I know what I'm looking for. Mm-hmm. And the Course says that all over. So,
right.
That's an obstacle.
The only judgment involved is the Holy Spirit's one division into two categories, one of love and the other the call for love. Again, the only judgment involved in the Holy Spirit's one division into two categories, one of love and the other the call for love. You cannot safely make this division, for you're much too confused either to recognize love or to believe that everything else is nothing but a call for love. You are too bound to form and not to content. What you consider content is not content at all. It is merely form and nothing else, for you do not respond to what a brother really offers you, but only to the particular perception of his offering by which the ego judges it.
I went through a little exercise. We read this in advance, and I went through a little exercise of just checking that. And it's fun. It's a fun exercise to see how, in fact, my assessment of the world is an assessment of form for the most part.
Yeah, I did too.
Like the barking dog. Uh-huh. Bad dog. Uh-huh. Bad dog, barking.
Yeah.
Bad dog,
I know,
dog quiet, good dog.
Judgments immediately come in.
Form. The dog presents. Uh-huh. I judge.
Yeah, I drink out of this particular mug. I like this mug. That's all I have to say about it. I like the mug. Okay, what is its content? Well, I could say it has water in it, but that's not the content. The content is something. When we look at things, and in the very beginning, I do not know what this cup is for. I do not know what the water is for. I don't know what anything is for. And so you leave the content to dawn on the mind from the God space, from the Holy Spirit space, and that is transformed. It ends up being something else in understanding. So the ego cannot do the content.
Well, in the case of the barking dog, which is a real example, because I had thought through this thing a little bit, I was outside and the dog is barking crazy at me, and I didn't feel bad. I actually felt like I actually did feel like the dog. It was a call for love, that the dog wanted something. It was afraid of me for sure. It's not like I can go over there and pet him because he might bite me, let's say.
Yeah.
But I sensed the dog's misery of just being in a sloppy, cold, icy day, and the fear of the dog, which normally I just say in my mind, bad dog, I wish they'd fix the dog. That's where I usually go. So we can learn something.
Right, absolutely. And so the call for love, so a call for love can look like attack. It can look when a judgment is coming upon me from another, where it seems as though all there is some kind of pain in their life, and so they're attacking me. But that in a sense is a call for love.
Well, and it's saying here, what's interesting is we're talking about this call for love and attack.
But again, it says I can't safely make that.
Yeah.
I can't
We're
make
clueless.
that judgment. Yeah,
We're
we
clueless.
can't make it.
We can't tell if a flat tire is a call for love or it's a gesture of love. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know. Okay.
So you don't respond to what the brother really offers you, but only to the particular perception of his offering by which the ego judges it. Yeah.
I assume a flat tire is a call for love. I don't know what it is.
Right.
Paragraph 8.
It's an opportunity for love to be gestured towards you.
Whatever. The ego is incapable of understanding content and is totally unconcerned with it. To the ego, if the form is acceptable, the content must be. Otherwise, it will attack the form. If you believe you understand something of the dynamics of the ego, let me assure you that you understand nothing of it. For of yourself, you could not understand it. The study of the ego is not the study of the mind.
An important fact, yeah.
In fact, the ego enjoys studying itself and thoroughly approves the undertakings of students who would analyze it, thus approving its importance. Yet they but study form with meaningless content, for their teacher is senseless, though careful to conceal this fact behind impressive-sounding words, but which lack any consistent sense when they are put together. And this is the thing to remember about the ego, is it says this in other places in the Course. The ego is nothing. There's nothing there.
Right.
The ego is a way of manipulating aspects of the mind to be distracted by forms.
Right.
Right. The perceptual world. That's why the ego would like to be studied. It's because it is what they call in some New Age circles a shape shifter. The ego has no particular form. You can study it all day long. You'll learn nothing because it will say, okay, yeah, this is good. Yeah, you got it. You nailed it. That's what I am. No, you cannot know.
Yeah. It is the lack of light. The ego is this other thing, and I can't define it. So I just thought this whole section now, because I thought of myself, how you're taught in school and stuff like that. It's like, oh, you have such good analytical skills and things like that. It's one of the things you put on your resume.
Yeah, right.
I know how to analyze things.
Good analytical skills, right.
I know how to categorize things really well. I know how to, notice, likes and differences and things like that. And I know that I've enjoyed all kinds of conversations with friends and things like that, of analyzing the psychology of myself or other people and why we do the things we do. And you feel really important in those times.
Okay, well, let's just take that a little bit, because so much of I love analysis, obviously. I love analyzing things. I like diagrams. I like models and understanding simulations and all that kind of stuff, trying to just work on it. It's like brain fodder. So what do you think about that whole thing about analysis? Is that an utter waste of time? Everybody should just throw their hands up in the air and say, oh, life is beautiful. It's like, I don't think so. I think you've got to do what comes to you, even if that's analysis.
We have to be honest that we enjoy it, like putting a puzzle together. We enjoy putting that last piece in and say, I got it. I made it, I understand I know all the pieces now.
And it will always be about the perceptual world, the ego's world. It will always be making sense out of a world that the ego has presented.
Yeah, exactly. And then it's always a drag when you get to that last piece and like it's just not there.
Well,
then you're really stuck.
Well, just as an example, there's a science, a psychology, a coherent study of how nasty Vladimir Putin is.
Yeah.
On the other side, there's a science, a study, a coherent understanding of how wise and wonderful Vladimir Putin is.
I know.
They will not bridge. The mind suffices to understand either one if something in you has decided you want to be on that side of the... In other words,
exactly.
The analytical mind is a lawyer.
Yeah,
it will prove anything to collect the money.
And a scientist. I mean, all of our science is based on analysis and dissecting. But so the ego takes apart to disseminate, and God joins together to share. So they're in complete opposites of how they go about things. But admittedly, I like taking the parts and trying to put them to get back together again. If you take anything apart...
Does it mean anything?
I don't know that it means anything. It's just part of what our world is. I mean, I just have to admit that analysis, is kind of fun. And therefore, am I addicted to it? I guess that would be my only question is, am I addicted to always wanting to, not realizing that I enjoy a problem, even though I complain about a problem, because I want to be able to fix it.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Well, they talk about with animals, with earthquakes and storms and hurricanes and things. They're not looking at the news. They're not aware of the weather report, and they all leave on time. You know what I mean? So that because of a lack of analytical thinking, they're tapped into other levels of information to which they can respond. So sometimes I'd say analysis is paralysis.
Yeah, I would say so. Paragraph 9. This is the characteristic of the ego's judgments. Separately, they seem to hold, but put them together, and the system of thought that arises from joining them is incoherent and utterly chaotic. For form is not enough for meaning, and the underlying lack of content makes a cohesive system impossible. Separation, therefore, remains the ego's chosen condition. For no one alone can judge the ego truly. Yet, when two or more join together in searching for truth, the ego can no longer defend its lack of content. The fact of union tells them it is not true.
So I remember that I wasn't particularly happy with a discussion I made a couple of videos ago about the strong man determining truth and the weak man having to acquiesce to whatever that decision is. But here it's saying that in essence, in the state of the separation or of the ego, since there is no true content and everything is form, victory is as good of a, if you have to judge truth, and truth is going to be judged by form alone and not content, well, it's going to look like victory. It's going to look like somebody put down another one. It's going to be Indian wrestling, and how can you tell who the wisest man is? The guy with the biggest forearm. It's like...
It's going to be watching a football game.
Yeah. No, so maybe it's not fair to say. I haven't really thought about it because, the other name for Jesus, Christ is logos, which is the root word for logic. So so I withdraw that until I think it out. That maybe logical is not. Logic might not. Logic isn't rhetoric, and it's not dialectic. Logic.
The Course uses reason against perception.
Reason against perception. Okay, so
yeah, it doesn't say logic. It uses reason.
Well, I'm going to say logic and reason have something in common there, but so I'm not going to condemn logic or reason because the Course says that's our ticket in some ways.
Yes.
Paragraph 10. It is impossible to remember God in secret and alone, for remembering Him means you are not alone and are willing to remember it. Take no thought for yourself, for no thought you hold is for yourself. If you would remember your Father, let the Holy Spirit order your thoughts and give only the answer with which He answers you. Everyone seeks for love as you do, but know it not unless he joins with you in seeking it. If you undertake the search together, You bring with you a light so powerful that what you see is given meaning. The lonely journey fails because it has excluded what it would find. The lonely journey, in other words, if I take out on my alone to determine the truth, to determine joy, to determine relationship, to determine anything, if I head out like to build a fire, the Jack London story, I'm going to go out there, the journey fails because it excluded what the goal was. In other words, I go out alone to what? Find unity, to find joy, to find the peace of the wholeness of all. I excluded that at the beginning.
Right. So you can't find it. If you exclude it, how can you find it?
One of those great paradoxical things.
Right.
And that, straight as the gate, the lonely road, it's advertised as the thing you have to do alone. You can't drag a bunch of people along. So this isn't talking about companionship on the path in the usual sense. The companionship this is talking about is the sonship.
Yeah.
I have to be in relationship to the sonship. I cannot go into my hermit cave and not be in relationship to the guy who's bringing me the food or the cave walls or the weather. Blocking all things out and going within is counterintuitive according to this somehow. Now you can go down in there and find it, but in the end,
you only know that you have it when you can give it away. That's what it. That's the main thing with the Course is that how do you know that you know love? Because you can give it away and you never feel like you lack anything because it's constantly replenished. As soon as it's given, it's received back. So all attributes of God are meant to be shared. And how can you know that they're shared is because you do walk in the world with others. And if you don't do that walk, even after you've done your internal meditations or if you've gone into a hermitage and everything else, the only way you know that you've learned the lessons of the Holy Spirit is in the reflections of your brothers. And you'll know immediately that you're not a peaceful person. As soon as somebody steps on your toe, physically, mentally, or whatever, however it is, and all of a sudden your peace is just knocked right off. You go, no, I'm such a peaceful person. You're meditating and you're doing your yoga and you're doing all that kind of stuff. No, you have to walk in the world, and when stuff knocks you over, you have to say, hey, I'm still my egoic self, and that's okay. I'm still learning, and the Holy Spirit walk with me because now I need to forgive whatever this thing has happened here so that I don't carry that forward and I don't carry whatever those perceived hurts and attacks are because the world is full of it. It's just, you can't avoid, stubbing your toe something once in a while. It's just the way it is.
Right. Go ahead and do it.
Okay, paragraph 11. As God communicates to the Holy Spirit in you, so does the Holy Spirit translate his communication through you so you can understand them. God has no secret communications, for everything of him is perfectly open and freely accessible to all, being for all. Nothing lives in secret, and what you would hide from the Holy Spirit is nothing. Every interpretation you would lay upon a brother is senseless. Let the Holy Spirit show him to you and teach you both his love and his call for love. Neither his mind nor yours holds more than these two orders of thought.
Okay, neither your mind nor yours holds more than these two orders of thought. And yet remember, I can't distinguish one from the other.
Yeah.
So I know that they're there.
Yeah.
So this forces partnership with the Holy Spirit.
Right.
It forces it.
Yes.
If I'm interested in getting beyond form and understanding content, now I think this is true. I'm not just reiterating the book. It makes sense to me that I can't know the inner conditionalities of the appearance that's coming at me from the brother, from the circumstance. I can't know the whole of it. I don't know where it came from or where it's going or what its purpose or inner dynamic is. I can't know those, so I'm in no position to understand the content of it versus what I'm just getting. Since I'm blind that way, my blindness would demand that we're talking about this, the equality of miracles. This is what I'd say is the technology of miracles. and understanding something about how to access miracles, I have to understand my blindness.
Mm-hmm. And I know that I joke about bring all to all. If you want to get an answer, that means be conscious of your own thoughts as much as possible so that you can have it translated. You can say, obviously, I've got thoughts about this that I don't know if they're good or bad or whatever, but here, obviously they're giving me, the reflections they're giving me, my thoughts is, perturbations of uncomfortableness or, anxiety or just upsetness. So therefore, it's an opportunity to take a look at it and say, here, translate this for me, because I've obviously made it something fearful for myself. Whenever I have something fearful for myself, it's an opportunity. So don't keep any secrets from God. Don't keep any secrets from the Holy Spirit. It doesn't do us any good. It's like, know what those inner hiding places that we like to hold on to are so that they can be dispelled.
Awareness.
Yeah, awareness.
See, because I'm thinking that there's a scale of, on the one hand, awareness,
Mm-hmm.
and on the other, it's perceived pain.
Yeah.
So I have awareness and perceived pain. Is that the heavier the awareness, the lighter is the perceived pain, like this.
Yeah.
So, and the awareness can seem like analysis, but I think that the Course gives good guidelines for understanding the limits of analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Or but so to be aware, from, in my case personally, to become aware of how I react in situations, what my tendencies are, what are the scary points and whatever, and then maybe the pain factor gets lighter. And to be honest with you, there's what I recognize, that there's parts of me that I feel like I'm aware of,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm scared of meeting those walls. I'm afraid of those walls because I do tend to be reactive in certain areas,
Mm-hmm.
and it seems out of my control, which that is prime territory for a miraculous intervention.
Yes, it is.
I don't know. Should I read 12?
Yeah, 12. Last paragraph.
The miracle is the recognition that this is true. Okay, neither his mind nor yours holds more than these two orders of thought.
Mm-hmm.
The miracle is the recognition that this is true. Where there is love, your brother must give it to you because of what it is. But where there is a call for love, you must give it because of what you are. Earlier I said this Course will teach you how to remember what you are, restoring you to your identity. We have already learned that this identity is shared. The miracle becomes the means of sharing it. By supplying your identity wherever it is not recognized, you will recognize it, and God Himself, who wills to be with His Son forever, will bless each recognition of His Son with all the love He holds for Him. Nor will the power of all His love be absent from any miracle you offer to His Son. How, then, can there be any order of difficulty among them?
I guess, where was it? By supplying your identity wherever it is not recognized, you will recognize it. I'm not sure I understand that.
Well, this whole section is this is very, very pithy.
Mm-hmm.
This is dense.
Mm-hmm.
This little section.
I mean, identity is shared. I got that.
Well,
because whenever I recognize who and what I really am, united with God, it's an immediately, that recognition is like those ripples that go out to the whole sonship.
It says, let's say I'm perceiving love coming from, in other words, I'm in a position to receive love. I'm in a position, whatever that is. I don't know what it looks like or feels like, but I get that, and it's this loving gesture. It comes to me like in a way. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing can happen where it looks like there's an attack coming at me. It looks like there's some problem. It looks like a call for love.
Yes.
So those are the two modes. When it's a call, the brother, when the sonship has love, it will flow toward me to unite us.
Yes.
When there's an attack, obviously there's a call for, in terms of the ego, separation. And when that attack is happening, if I go with the attack as in the ego's terminology. I can't, I'm not going to.
You're going to want
There's
to
not
attack
going to
back. That's usually what happens.
Yeah, or run. And there's
Yeah.
not going to be a union. There's not
Right.
going to be. I'm not going to be able to find my identity there. Now, in the first one, I see the brother's identity. The love is flowing towards me. Feels good. Feels loving. Feels uniting. I'm seeing the love there. I'm feeling love in myself. We're united in this common bond of, this love, which the love is there to pull us together. In the second issue, that's the one we always have trouble with. The love is coming at me. The attack is coming at me in the form of a request for me to supply my identity. My identity as Son of God. As a Son of God, I have the inheritance of the Holy Spirit. So I supply my identity where it's lacking. In other words, the brother is attacking me, or there's a perceived attack.
Yes.
Because I'm either not putting out my proper identity or the brother's not getting my proper identity. In any case, we need ID. And that ID can only come through this relationship with the Holy Spirit, because that will reinterpret what's actually happening.
And in fact, someone who's been living a very dark, egoic light can actually be threatened by the love of God himself, because it shatters their reality. So they might attack if you become more and more. Look what they did to Jesus. All I'm saying, they might attack. When the light grows, sometimes there's I don't think so, and something wants to squelch it again. That is the call for love, though.
Okay, well, let's take that. Eckhart Tolle has a story that he tells. I can't remember where I saw it, where he talks about sitting in a restaurant with a friend. And this is after he had his enlightened experience. And someone comes in the door and starts raising hell in the restaurant. They make all kinds of trouble. They're just obnoxious. I think they end up having to call the cops and drag him out. Eckhart Tolle says, it's my fault. Eckhart Tolle is saying, I did that. Somehow or another, he was recognizing that this character, whatever he was animated
in the presence of light.
In the presence of, let's say, Eckhart Tolle's light. That's what I hear you saying. Now, let's take it further. And Eckhart Tolle is there, and there's a guy that's animated by that, and let's say that that's possible, that he will not, that he does in fact recognize the light, and he hates it.
Yeah.
So what can we say about that in terms of the sonship and the miracle? And
many martyrs have been killed under those circumstances. I don't really know. Only you can only know that because I'm an eternal being, whatever's going to happen at that point, maybe you can look at it like, hey, my time's up. I don't no longer have to be in a body anymore. I don't know. I actually think those are one of those moments where, angels and dominions come to your rescue. In other words, there's something else that happens in the room that allows for the preservation of the body because its work is not done yet. All I can say is, at those moments, I don't think we, from an egoic standpoint, could ever understand what truly needs to happen. There's a story. Anandamayi Ma, who is another enlightened being in India. She's in her ashram. She's up there. She's this woman who's just kind of swishing and being one with the divine, or whatever. And a guy staggers in the room, and he screams something, and he pelts her with an orange. He hits her in the head with an orange. And naturally or unnaturally, the devotees jump on the guy and pummel him. She gets nice scene.
She gets really upset with her devotees, and she orders them to bring this guy back in. And he becomes a lifelong devotee. He completely melts. He sheds all of that craziness. It's as though, it's like Jesus with the demons and the pigs and all that kind of thing. There's another realm, man. I don't, I'm not there.
I think those are just big unknowns.
But where the guy throws the orange and pelts her, it's as though he bundled his anger and his aggression onto that orange, and by her receiving it, he lost it. He unloaded it. And in a way, if you want to look at it in terms of identity, her being identified with the ocean of wisdom or God or whatever, the guy recognized that the only way I can get rid of this demon is to hurl it into the place where it will vanish. You know.
Oh, that's interesting.
You know,
That's
so
an interesting way of looking at
he throws this orange, he pelts her, he does the energetic exchange, she receives it. She doesn't, she doesn't get pious, she doesn't get anything.
Right.
She just says thank you. That's all she says is thank you, thank you. And she sees it as a gift. And the guy was able to unload. He in other words, he completed in some weird way, like a gesture of love.
Well, it
But
was a call for love.
But it was only interpreted as a gesture of love in my interpretation in hindsight.
Yeah, in hindsight. Maybe you could not have done exactly.
No, it looks like an attack. I would have been one of the guys to haul this guy out.
Right. So, I mean, also, I mean, so at the very end here, it keeps on talking about God himself who wills to be with his son, which is us. It's me, it's you, it's everyone who's listening. He wills to be with his son forever. He will bless each recognition of his son, that's you, me, all of us, with all the love he holds for him. Nor will the power of all his love be absent from any miracle you offer to his son. That's your brother, and that's yourself. Now then, can there be any order of difficulty among them? And it leaves it at that, because
it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, because it can't be, because the oneness is there.
Well, and it would be worth reviewing the first chapter of all miracles are maximal.
Yes.
In other words, there's not like some are little and some are big and some are half baked.
Yeah, and it talks about that even in this one.
Yeah. So can you say one thing about, because we're talking about this seems
the equality of miracles?
Yeah.
Well,
what do you do? If you gave yourself marching orders, what would they be?
I would say that because it says that they're limitless and everything else, is that I need to pay attention. I need to pay attention to how the miracles, first of all, are even coming into my life, because I'm more, as we go through this and everything else, so far, because I'm not being disturbed by my surroundings and things like that, I'm more peaceful than I've been internally in a while. I can tell it by, our morning and evening meditations and things like that. So, but as we walk into the world, I've got a couple of meetings and things coming up and everything else. Those are opportunities, if something starts to arise, for me to allow for the miracles to reveal themselves, just to reveal themselves. And also, and the simple things of making decisions of what to do on certain, medical things, or whatever, do we make that appointment with the dentist? Do you, those kinds of things, or whatever they are, that, we avoid because, I don't think I have enough money, or, whatever comes up for something. Mm-hmm. It's an opportunity then to see if a miracle can show itself.
No, that's good, because I'm going to give myself marching orders, and it's totally consonant with what you're saying, which is do more miracles.
Yeah.
Do more miracles and embrace that relationship with the Holy Spirit. It's the only way to do it.
Right.
There has to be an embracing of that relationship with the Holy Spirit. Whatever foibles, whatever crazy grandiosity I bring to the picture, that needs to be, I have to be aware to it. Obviously, you can't grab it.
Right. And then, people come to you and they ask, can you help with this or whatever? At least in my world, those kinds of things come up with. Those are opportunities to see if this is the best use of my time, my talents, and my treasure. Is it something that is beneficial for me and others? Because all miracles are equal. They have equality of miracles, which means if I benefit from it, then all the beings that I am with doing whatever I'm doing are benefiting as well.
Any little thing is as valid as a huger thing.
Yes.
So that cannot any longer be the reason for doing this or that.
Right. That's right.
Okay. Are we done?
I think so. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.